from Judas Priest, and you're listening to BackstageAxxess.com.
Chris with BackstageAxxess.com, and we have a special guest joining us today. Please welcome an extraordinary axeman from one of the biggest heavy metal bands in history, Richie Faulkner of Judas Priest. Now, we were saying there was a brand new Priest album out, The Redeemer of Souls, and we wanted to say congratulations on the excellent record and, you know, the fact that it's doing so well. But would you be able to tell us just a little bit about the album from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I was just saying, thanks very much for that. I mean, it's great when, you know, people love what you do, and you can't expect everyone to. You just got to do what comes from the heart, and just to be, it's like an affirmation, really, that the record had the highest Billboard chart entry of the band's career. It's just an amazing affirmation, and a great thank you is involved, you know, is needed to the fans, really, for putting it there, and for sustaining the band over these years. So thanks very much for that. I mean, going in, we started off on the live scenario, and I think that was instrumental, really. You built friendships, you gain trust, you value opinions, you know. It's kind of a condensed atmosphere, and you build friendships pretty quickly, or not, if it goes wrong. But I think it went so well, and we got on so well. I think going into the studio environment, all those factors came into play, you know. If you have an opinion, you know it's going to be valued and trusted. And that only helps the creative process, you know. You're not holding back, you're honest, and everyone's honest. And it just creates a very freeing, creative atmosphere. Plus the fact that we've just been out for the best part of 2 years on a retrospective tour of the band's back catalogue. And I think that must have all seeped in subconsciously as well, you know. So all those factors came together and just created a very organic, a very natural, and a very creative experience in the studio. And we went in, we wanted to create something that was very pure and very honest, very raw sounding, you know, and just encapsulated the character and the essence of the Judas Priest that we all know and love, you know. There was no concept. I mean, if there was to be a concept, it was just that. It was just pure, honest and raw, and what came from the heart. That's what we did, and we just kept writing and writing and writing, and, you know, we actually got to the point where we had to stop writing because we were never going to get anything on tape. Like, that's got to be the cut-off, you know, because we were just coming up with so many things. So it was just amazing, really, a really creative process, and education as well. I mean, learning from these guys, they're rightfully the metal gods, you know, and just from a performance point of view, from a writing point of view, it's just such an education to learn from these guys and be a part of that process, you know.
Now, since this was the first Judas Priest record that you were involved with, how involved were you in the writing process? I'm assuming some of those amazing riffs on the record are yours?
Well, the Priests have always had, as long as Rob's been in the band, they've always had that two guitar player, singer, writing team, you know. Right. That's always seemed to work for them, and they've created a dynamic in the writing sense that's always seemed to work really well. So we kept it the same, and, you know, I was a Priest fan, I am a Priest fan. I knew what to do, you know. It was coming instinctively from me, so fortunately we could keep it with the same setup, same writing team. And it was a three-way co-write on the whole record, which, again, it was an amazing honour to be a part of. But they wanted to keep that dynamic. It was important to their brand, and it was important to me as a fan to keep that. And it worked, you know. And I think being brought up on a healthy diet of Priest and, you know, metal in general and twin guitar bands, you just know instinctively what that responsibility and what that duty means, you know. So you get in there and you do your best, and it was just an amazing thing, really, to be a part of. So, plus, I make an amazing cup of tea, so I think that helped in the process as well.
Now, you know, in addition to all the tracks on the album, which there was a lot of variety, you know, you've got powerful tracks like Halls of Valhalla, kind of a more blues with the Crossfire track, and then that throwdown you guys just did on Secrets of Fire. But there's also a lot of bonus tracks on the album, Snakebite being one of my favorites of those. What was the decision to include all the bonus tracks this time around? Was it just because you guys had so much great material this time around?
basically what it was, we considered various formats how to release the songs that we had, you know. And the bonus tracks we thought were great, you know. We didn't they weren't the leftover tracks from any session or anything like that. We wrote them in between, you know. There was no order. That's not how they came out, you know. So we might have written on the bonus tracks after Halls of Valhalla, but when we looked at them as a whole, the statement that we wanted to make with Redeemer of Souls, the bonus tracks or the deluxe edition didn't quite fit into that sort of format. In terms of statement, they might have had a different vibe or slightly different groove, which we just felt didn't fit in with the statement. At the same time, we didn't want to put those songs on the shelf or put them in the metal vaults, you know, gathering dust, because we knew that the fans are going to love these songs as much as, I mean, if not more, than some of the tracks on Redeemer of Souls standard edition. So we just wanted to get all the music out there, the fans could hear it all, and just everything we had up until that point we wanted to put out while retaining that statement of Redeemer of Souls as a standard edition. So that's what we thought was the best way to approach it. Put the statement out there that we wanted to make, but also give the fans access to these extra 5 tracks, because we knew they were going to love it as much as we did as well. Absolutely,
we did. Now, I know you guys will be heading out on tour here in the States soon and kicking off things October 1st. You'll be in Rochester, New York at the Main Street Armory. Can you give us an idea for the fans what they can expect as far as the set list goes this time around? Will it be focused mostly on the new record, or a good mix of the back catalog as well?
Well, it's an interesting position to be in, because in a band like Priest, there's so many different songs that you could do.
Right.
You can't do all of them, you know. It's a bit of a dilemma, but it's a good dilemma to have, obviously.
Right.
We're looking at the set list. We've got a couple of preliminary set lists down, and we're working on those individually before we go into the rehearsal room. I can't really divulge too much information, because it changes. You know, we might get into the rehearsal room and throw a couple of things around that might work better. But what we're looking at doing is, you've got to do the classics. We want to do some classics. We want to do Living After Midnight, Another Thing Coming, Breaking the Law, Hellbent for Leather. If we didn't do those, Chris, I mean, there'd be, riots outside.
Absolutely.
And rightly so. As a Priest fan, if I didn't hear those, I'd probably be in the riot myself, But, so we've got to do those. There's going to be some Priest standards. There's going to be some new stuff in there, from the Redeemer of Souls. Because, we're not looking back on this tour, we're looking forward, and we're creating new music and hopefully future classics for the next 20, 30 years. And, and also it's the 30th anniversary of Defenders of the Faith. 1984 was Defenders of the Faith. And so we're looking at revisiting some of that record as well. So, as I said, there's going to be some classics, some new stuff, some, revisiting of classic albums thrown in. And if you're a Priest fan, you've been to a Priest show before, you know what to expect. It's like a big family in there. And, everyone's together and everyone's singing along with us and we're singing with you. And there's some, production stuff. There's a bike coming out on the stage. And there's just going to be some surprises this time around as well, production-wise. But I think the last tour we did was the Epitaph tour, and that really was all the bells and whistles. We really went, up to 11 on that one.
Right.
To quote Spinal Tap. And I don't think you can actually get any bigger than that. So it's interesting from a creative point of view how we can put a show, forward that's going to be different, but no less spectacular. So we're thinking of balancing the production with the strength of the songs and letting the songs do some talking while retaining some of the production elements that we all know and love about Priest. So it'll be a fantastic, amazing show from the songs to the production, and we can't wait to get out there and deliver the goods to you all.
Oh, I'm sure it's going to be fantastic. Now, you and Glenn seem to have a real natural chemistry when you're together on the stage. What has it been like working with him?
Glenn's a hero of mine, in more ways than one. I mean, he's a guitar hero to many, but he's a good friend now, and we do lots of things outside the band. We go fishing, and we went out to the Caribbean a few months ago, and we've got a boat out and went and caught some barracuda and had a few beers. So he's still my hero, but he's a friend now as well. And I think, from a musical point of view, because I was indirectly taught by Glenn and KK and other guys, guitar players, you look for them for inspiration and how they do this and how to convey certain emotions with different musical textures. I think it was just so natural, and from the guitar point of view, we came from the same place, like Jimi Hendrix, Rory Gallagher. I was then influenced by Priest, so it's a natural thing from a musical point of view. But then it's just got a lot deeper than that as friends and brothers, and that only helps the chemistry in the writing process and moving forward into the future for the next tour. We just can't wait. You know, some of the classic moments that have come out of Priest's live set, it's still yet to be discovered because we've got new songs.
Right.
And it would be great to kind of come up with new things live and new interpretations of these new songs. And it's just humbling to be a part of, really. But with him, everything's so natural and laid back, and you can, as I said before, your opinions are valued and asked for, and let you repay that, really. If Glenn's got an opinion that he doesn't think is right or he thinks is great, obviously you're going to listen. These are the guys that, you know, one of the reasons I'm doing it. And, you know, so it's just great. All the guys, really, you know, Rob, Ian and Scott as well, we've all got our parts to play, and we're all brothers, and we're all family, you know. And because of that condensed atmosphere on tour, you know, in a bus or on a plane or in an airport in line or getting up early, whatever it is, you build those friendships pretty quickly, and it's just been great. And I think that kind of echoes into the music and the creativity side of things as well.
True. Now, when KK left the band, you know, many fans thought maybe that would be the end of Priest. What has the fan reaction been towards you? Have they been supportive for the most part of you being in the band?
The fans have been overwhelming. I mean, when any change happens in any walk of life, not only a band, but especially after an institution like Priest, after 40 years, one of the original guys leaves, there's going to be some sort of skepticism, you know. People are going to be skeptical, and that's natural. I was the same when, you know, Michael Schenker left UFO or Richie Blackmore left Big Purple. I was exactly the same. And I think that only reflects the passion and the love that the fans have for the band, you know.
Right.
But what they did was they were, you know, they trusted Priest, they loved Priest, they put their money onto the ticket, and they came down, you know, and they came down to the show. And within 30 seconds, Chris, they had their hands in the air, they were screaming the lyrics with me, and, you know, and it was a great kind of dynamic for me to have, really. I had a point to prove, but it was a healthy one to prove, you know. It wasn't like, you know, I'm going to prove to you that, you know, anything like that. It was, you know, I'm going to prove that I'm, you know, here. I know the duty that I've got to fulfill. I know the responsibility because I'm a Priest fan. The band's fine. We're forging forward, and everything's going to be all right. And I think that kind of carried over, and they saw that, and they felt it in the first 20 seconds. But again, the main thing was that they loved the band. They bought the tickets, and they came down, and they gave it a chance. And a big hats off to the fans for doing that, and just for being so welcoming. I think you're always going to get people around the world that prefer who went before, and that's fine, you know. There's people around the world that still prefer Paul Di'Anno to Bruce Dickinson in Iron Maiden, and that's just the way it is, you know.
Right.
The band's got to move on, we've got to go forward, and that's what we did, and the majority of fans have just been overwhelming, so a big thank you to them.
Great, and I think it's been a great fit, and I think anyone who is skeptical just sees, like you said, 30 seconds live, and they're hooked, and that's all they need to see.
Absolutely. I mean, the thing with skepticism is that some people, they're skeptical and they stay skeptical. They don't check it out, you know. And I've been, you know, we're all guilty of that in certain areas. But the great thing about music and Priest fans is that they were skeptical, but they had so much love and passion for the band that they trusted it and they went to see it. And, you know, people worked hard for their money. And they bought the tickets, they went down, and they left that show with big smiles on their faces. You know, they were sweaty, they had that release of energy that you get at a metal show. So it was, for me, it was a job done. But it's continuing to this day. You know, you never take that for granted. You never sit back. You've been accepted, but you're still out there. You know, we've got a new record to promote, and the first record I've been in. So you still have that dynamic of, you know, getting, you know, that kind of getting the message across to the world. Some people haven't seen Priest. You know, some people haven't seen me, so still converting the masses and flying the flag for heavy metal wherever we go, and I think that's an important and positive dynamic to have.
Yes, absolutely. Now, you had mentioned, you know, Glenn and KK were influences on you as a musician. Who were some of your other biggest musical influence, you know, guitar-wise?
A huge one, Michael Schenker from UFO. You know, the blonde hair, the flying V, you know, as well as Ken, you know, it's great, you know, that one of my early influences, like Michael Schenker, you know, he played the V and stuff, and then Ken's playing the V as well. It's just like fantastic, you know. It's kind of almost like licensed to play the V. Who else? I mean, Zach Wilde, obviously, is a big, you know, influence of mine. bands like Thin Lizzy, Black Sabbath, Metallica, Maiden, the guys from Maiden, huge influences, but, both instrumentally on their own, from their own styles, and in the way that they create guitar pieces, the way that they harmonise with the other guitar player, and that's always been a huge turn on musically for me, the way that the guitar can do that, and these guys interweave different melodies into these incredible songs, so all those guys really, people like Brian May and Eddie Van Halen, always, those guys are a big influence on guitar players around the world, but the guys I mentioned before, they were the ones that kind of made me sit up and say, that's kind of what part of my identity is. You tune into those things in a different way, and so definitely those guys. Schenker was a big one, and still he remains to be a huge influence, Michael Schenker. I've always got a Michael Schenker shirt on or something,
Now, since you were a fan of the band before becoming a part of the band, what's your favorite Judas Priest song?
People ask me that, and I can't answer that. It's just like, if someone asked me what my worst song was to play live, how can you answer that? My favourite song to play live were Priest. I don't think I could pick one, I think there are songs like Victim of Changes, which kind of sum up the whole ethos of Priest's music, the dynamic and the quiet, beautiful parts, and the big, angry parts, and the bombastic, epic parts. I think that's one of the songs that encapsulates all of it. But then there's other songs as well, The Sentinel and, Turbo Lover is just an amazing song. When you play it live, you've got the whole arena singing it along with you. So each song has its own charm, its own reasons for why you love it so much. I don't think I could pick one. I really don't. I mean, if I had to, I'd probably say Victim of Changes, but then I'll probably change it in 5 minutes. So let's go with that one and go with it,
I understand. It's hard to choose just one, I'm sure. Now that you're a part of one of the biggest heavy metal bands, ever in the history of heavy metal, how has your life changed looking back for over the last few years?
It's changed, in lots of ways. I mean, it's remained the same in the sense that I'm still doing what I've always done, which is play guitar with that kind of outlook and, harmony guitar and heavy guitar. I didn't have to kind of change my writing style or anything like that. So things like that remain the same, fortunately, because that's who I am as a guitar player. Other things have changed immensely. I mean, I'm never in the same place for more than, a month or so, because we've always got, promotion to do or some recording to do or some writing to do or whatever it is, there's always something going on every few months. So I've become a bit of a heavy metal vagabond, really. I'm going with the wind. And to be honest with you, I think I'm young enough to do that still. I don't have to settle down yet too much. And just being a part of Priest, because you're going everywhere and you're learning so much about the industry outside of playing guitar, you kind of soak it all in, and I welcome the challenge. I mean, there are challenges in life, and that's not really a big challenge, moving around the world as part of Priest and learning all this information on how to, conduct yourself in interviews and press and promo and all the things that you don't really learn about when you're focused on your instrument, which is a good thing because you should be focused on your instrument when you're practicing and learning. But then getting into this sort of scenario and learning how to listen to others and, express ideas and be accepting of other people, and it's just a great education and a great experience. And we're moving forward, like every day there's something new to experience and learn, and some things you don't quite get the hang of straight away, but you've got that drive to learn how to do it, which is the same drive that started you off playing the instrument in the first place. And so there's always knowledge to be gained, and there's a wealth of experience to be gained from these guys, and be a part of it. I'm sure they're learning too in some respects. When you get someone from the outside in, I'm sure they learn different things as well, with different viewpoints and stuff like that. So again, it's just an education for me, and it continues to be moving forward.
Fantastic. It's a great album, and we're so looking forward to the tour here in the States. We can't wait to see you guys live again.
Thanks very much, because we can't wait to get out there.
Yeah, and I'm sure the show is going to be fantastic and absolutely blow everybody out of their seats. That's for sure.
you can always rely on priests to do that. You know, I think back in '84 or '83, I think they literally did blow everyone out of their seats. The fans lifted up the seats in Madison Square Garden and launched the whole, you know, the arena of seats onto the stage. So that literally was blowing people off their seats. Hopefully there'll be none of that going on, but we'll blow them off their seats figuratively. And yeah, you can rely on priests for that, definitely.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today. We sure do appreciate it. And best of luck
Thank you very much, Chris. It's been a pleasure.
With the tour and also with the record itself.